right, guys, let me start by saying that this is a pretty heavy topic, but I think it's important we talk about it. So what's going on here? A cafe owner in Katikati, Joshua Van Loon, has just been sentenced to 11 months of home detention for indecently assaulting multiple young female staff members. That's not just a slap on the wrist, right? It's a pretty serious sentence, but I want to break this down for you and explain why it's so important. Van Loon is 35 years old, and he's been found guilty of 12 charges of indecent assault and 2 charges of indecent assault on a young person. That's a lot of charges. And it's not just a few incidents, it's a pattern. The judge said that his behavior went beyond flirtatious or tactile, and that he must have known it was inappropriate. So this isn't just someone who made a mistake. This is someone who deliberately chose to act in a way that was clearly not okay. What exactly did he do? Well, from what's been reported, he grabbed the shoulders, hips, and buttocks of his employees. That's not just touching, that's touching in a way that's not consensual, and that's definitely not okay. Then there's the inappropriate comments and sending explicit messages to one of the victims after a work party. That's a clear case of grooming behavior, right? He's using his position as an employer to create a situation where he can exploit the employees. There's a clear distinction here. He's targeting young and vulnerable people, which is even more disturbing. The sentence he received was 22 months in prison, but it was commuted to home detention because of his limited means. That's a bit of a tricky situation. On one hand, home detention is a form of punishment, but on the other hand, it's not as severe as going to prison. But the judge didn't order emotional harm reparation because it would have been insulting to the victims. That's a strong statement. It shows that the judge understands the impact of this behavior on the victims and that there's no way to make up for the harm done. What does this mean for the victims? Well, the judge highlighted the grooming behavior in his messaging and the impact on the victim's trust and ability to move on to new employment. That's a really important point. When someone is in a position of power, like an employer, and they exploit that power, it can have long-lasting effects on the victims. It can affect their ability to trust others, to feel safe, and even to find work. That's not just about the immediate harm, it's about the long-term consequences. I want to talk about the broader implications of this case. It's not just about one person, it's about the culture that allows such behavior to happen. When someone in a position of power, like an employer, uses that power to exploit others, it sends a message that such behavior is acceptable. That's why it's so important to have cases like this brought to light and to have people talk about it. It's about changing the culture and making sure that people understand that such behavior is not okay. I'm sure it had to go through a lot to come forward. It takes a lot of courage to report such behavior, especially when it's someone in a position of power. So it's important for people to support victims and to encourage them to speak out. It's not just about the individual, it's about the community as a whole. We need to create an environment where people feel safe to speak out and where such behavior is not tolerated. The legal system is sending a message that such behavior is not acceptable and that there will be consequences. It's still a form of punishment. It's a way to hold someone accountable without taking away their basic rights. But I also want to acknowledge that it's not a perfect solution. There are people who argue that such sentences are too lenient, especially when the harm done is so significant. But the judge made a decision based on Van Loon's limited means, which is something that has to be considered. What's the takeaway here? It's that this case is a reminder of the importance of consent, the importance of speaking out, and the importance of the legal system in holding people accountable. It's also a reminder that even in cases where sentences are commuted, like home detention, it's still a form of punishment and that it's important to address the behavior. But I think it's important to have these conversations and to make sure that people understand the impact of such behavior. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.